Hello, everybody. Today, we are going to be discussing ageism in the workplace. My name is Sydney Kneller, and I am your facilitator for today's discussion. All right, so for our presentation today, we are going to review a few points listed here. We're going to go through a background of ageism in the workplace, followed by an analysis, then solutions and communication strategy, implementation challenge, and then we'll close out with some questions. All right, so I have some background information displayed here on the slide. Who does this discussion impact? Primarily IBM's Human Resources Department, senior executive stakeholders, managers, and board of directors. However, anybody can hold ageist beliefs. It's just these stakeholders who are often involved or have the potential to make a difference. What is ageism in the workplace? Ageism is described as the practice of discriminating against someone because of their age. This could include placing stereotypes, prejudices, and biases against others solely based on their age and potentially acting on those beliefs as well. This could include any age group, but typically it is targeted at older and or younger populations. When in September of 2018, there was an investigation highlighting the alleged abuses of age discrimination at IBM. So as a result, a lawsuit was filed, and that is why we are discussing some solutions and communication strategy here today. And finally, why? It's very important to diversify your workforce and ensure that groups are fairly and equally represented. So let's review some of the data on why it's important. All right. So I have a quick analysis here, and we'll get through some of these points on why it's so important to have a diverse age group across your workforce, as well as some background information here. So it is the law. ADEA stands for Age Discrimination in Employment Act, and it was established by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to federally protect those who are over the age of 40 from such discrimination. Two, it often occurs too much. So, according to Guile, 92% of workers who have seen age discrimination happen in the workplace or who have experienced it firsthand say that it is very or somewhat common to see. He also says that 64% of older adults say they have seen or experienced, age discrimination in the workplace. However, there's a vast underreporting problem. So the number is likely even higher than that, which means the majority of people do experience this. Third here, it is subtle. Many hold implicit bias beliefs, meaning that they are deeply rooted in systemic beliefs that we have in our mind based on the way our brains categorize groups of people. This could look like asking people for their age during the interview process, giving a raise to a younger associate because they have more room for growth, or holding generalized beliefs about a certain age group. These beliefs can be acted upon when associates state microaggressions towards others, such as stating that their older counterparts are not tech savvy enough or believing that younger associates will stick around longer. Four, it certainly creates barriers to communication when we hold these implicit biases. And then finally, it poses other negative impacts as well. So both to the workplace as well as to the victims or individuals impacted by these situations. The company experiences a decrease in diversity and perspective and is not hiring the best capable and able fit associate for the job, which leads to a decrease in productivity and an increase in turnovers, as well as low morale and inconsistent workforce. For the victims, there is an increased risk of stress, depression, heart disease, isolation, withdrawal, marginalization, feelings of being less valuable, and a burden, low self-esteem, and a physical decline. This information is according to Apostle and MT. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into some solutions and communication strategy. I have three solutions posed here: educational groups and opportunities, managerial action, corporate IBM policies, and then finally, as I stated, communication strategy. All right, so first up here, we have educational groups and opportunities. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI groups, provide an opportunity for associates to get involved and lead inclusivity efforts, as well as for other associates to join educational forums hosted by the DEI group to learn about these objectives. The goal for this group is to foster a safe space within IBM's workforce that promotes diversity and inclusion throughout various initiatives and uncovers implicit biases within associates. This group is typically led by the HR department. However, others are more than welcome to get involved to lead this effort too. So number one, provide mentorship opportunities. This is an opportunity to sponsor mentors within the program that can then partner with its members to provide mentorship sessions. These sessions are one-on-one and should offer, as I said, a safe space for its members while providing educational information via personal stories and experiences between mentor and mentee. Sharing personal experiences helps to alleviate implicit biases towards ageist beliefs by humanizing an individual and testing one's previously held biases towards a group. This will allow an open and welcoming relationship that promotes learning and career growth while remaining informed on DEI topics such as ageism. The second initiative I have listed here is hosting educational forums. So DEI leaders can host educational forums such as lunch and learns, webinars, seminars, conferences, etc., where associates are provided the opportunity to learn more about ageism and how to combat it. This would offer various learning forums and opportunities with a wide reach for the IBM community to enrich their knowledge of biases and provide ways to become allies and or improve one's behavior as it relates to ageism in the workplace. And then finally, for initiative 3, it would be to distribute a DEI communication platform. So we'll get more in depth into this topic at the end here of our presentation, but when we discuss our communication strategy at a high level, this plan provides associates the opportunity to educate and inform themselves at their leisure. A communication platform would include a DEI newsletter, dashboard, and many more components. All right, so next up I have managerial action. So initiative 1 here is coaching and check-ins. Managerial involvement is essential in enforcing actions against ageism. Managers should be aware of and inform their employees about the implications of ageism and age discrimination. Managers should also serve as an escalation point to raising ageist concerns and encourage their associates to be aware of what ageism looks like so they can be both self-aware and aware of others' ageist actions. It is the senior executive's responsibility to ensure managers are aware of their role and function as it relates to enforcing behavior against ageism. Managers can also foster accountability when implicit biases are voiced or acted upon in the workforce. So this certainly translates to our first one here, coaching and check-ins, because during one-on-ones, managers should be expected to offer coaching and check-ins with the direct reports. During this time, managers should be open to coaching their direct reports based on their personal workplace experiences and stories, which will help to uncover and combat implicit biases that associates may hold towards other age groups within IBM. Managers should continue to check in with their associates over time to gauge continuous improvement in their attitudes, beliefs, and actions. Number 2 here I have is intervene with ageist biases and behavior and hold associates accountable. So ultimately, managers are responsible for the work and behavior of their direct reports. When associates are expressing or acting upon their biases towards certain age groups, management should be empowered to intervene and correct the behavior. So ultimately, managers should be aware of the policies set in place by IBM and what repercussions should be enforced. Additionally, remediation should be offered for associates who want to improve their mindset towards implicit biases, and managers should be aware of resources that could benefit them in these cases. And then finally, offer direct reports equal opportunities for raises and promotions. So we know that managers are responsible for dispersing monetary and non-monetary benefits fairly amongst their direct reports based on performance. The process and qualifications for raises and promotions should be reinforced by the corporation's policy, but it is also the responsibility of the managers to ensure that this is accurately followed. All right, next we have corporate IBM policies. Systemic ageism in the workplace stems from a corporation's foundational policies, practices, and procedures, as well as the ability to enforce them. It is not enough to assume that your employees will know not to discriminate based on age. So you really need clearly defined policies in place. Corporate policies can influence managerial intervention, layoffs and firing, mandatory training, equal opportunities, health and retirement plans, communication, and the hiring and interview process. Additionally, clear policies that take a stance against discriminatory action reinforce that the company values and is committed to combating ageism in the workplace. The four initiatives here, the first one is layoffs and firing. IBM's policy should be clear and transparent in the processes and methods that lead to layoffs and firing of associates. When a clear and unbiased protocol is in place, it decreases the chances that biases will influence who is laid off or fired. The corporate policy should not allow for a reduction in the workforce based on age. So it's important that we be clear with associates and managers about the type of behavior that leads to being laid off or fired and ensure it's based on objective criteria. Secondly, is mandatory DEI training. Some mandatory annual formal training is training that should include IBM's stance on discrimination, as well as how to escalate an associate's concerns and repercussions for discriminatory behavior. The formal training should acknowledge the fact that everyone does have implicit biases and provide resources on how to effectively counter those biases. For the third one here, I have the statement of equal opportunity employment. So in IBM's corporate policy, there should be a statement regarding the corporation's stance on equal opportunity employment and how the company does not discriminate based on age, race, ethnicity, disability, status, etc. Having a clear policy in place will help ensure that opportunities are not granted based on biases and allow managers to reinforce them. It's also important to back this up with actions like good healthcare and retirement plans for some of our older age groups. Finally, we have hiring and the interview process. IBM's policy for hosting interviews and hiring new associates should be clear for associates and new hires as well. The interview process should combat hiring an associate based on age biases and avoid ageist job descriptions. Commonly, we hear this referred to as, tech savvy, young, energetic, fresh-minded, etc. The job application process should place advertisements where every age group may look, such as online job boards and community newspapers. It should not require applicants to list their birthday on forms. It should steer clear from posing age-related interview questions and also avoid stereotyping older associates as well as younger associates. Additional data should be collected to determine diversity metrics in the interviewing process to reflect how many associates from each age group are being hired and help ensure fair and equal representation. All right, and then lastly here we have our communication strategy. So we have 6 strategies that are put forth in the communication plan. The first one is the DEI newsletter. Backing up for a second, our communication strategy is a clear and robust communication strategy that will showcase the importance and commitment that IBM places on diversity, equity, and inclusion of all groups, including those of all ages. All associates across IBM will have access to resources, education, and information about IBM's diversity and inclusion. The objective of this strategy are to define what diversity means to this corporation, promote policies and initiatives, provide access to educational forums, events, and resources, and streamline solutions that IBM has put forth. Communications can also be utilized as a platform to receive feedback from associates and further drive growth and progress. So this strategy will provide individuals and diverse groups across IBM with a voice and sense of belonging while informing, educating, and supporting associates to adopt inclusive attitudes. This ultimately will be a collaborative effort between DEI leadership, HR, and senior executive stakeholders. And to be sustainable over time, the solutions, policies, and communication strategy will need to be reviewed annually by these groups as well. For the newsletter, this newsletter will serve to communicate key solution initiatives such as DEI events, past event recordings, DEI policies, and DEI educational resources and excerpts. Monthly, this will occur monthly via corporate-wide email distribution, and DEI leadership is the party responsible in tandem with senior executive stakeholders. Secondly, we have the DEI dashboard. This dashboard will serve as a centralized location for IBM associates to view upcoming DEI events, as well as showcase monthly education focuses and diverse holidays throughout the year. The dashboard should be available 24/7, but updated weekly via IBM's Power BI portal. DEI leadership will be responsible for this. The third initiative we have is DEI webinars. So these webinars will be offered monthly as an educational focus where associates can virtually join to learn more about the showcase topic with the intent of decreased biases. Monthly invites via Outlook and virtual meetings is where this will occur, and DEI leadership will send and host these events, but the senior executive stakeholders will determine the focus of these events. For the DEI internal committee board meeting, these meetings should be reoccurringly taking place between senior executive stakeholders and DEI leadership to ensure alignment on upcoming DEI initiatives and communication each month. Once a year, the members should also ensure that they're reviewing these policies and initiatives during these meetings and determine if improvements are needed. This will occur monthly. Invites will be sent via Outlook and will be attended via virtual meetings. And then senior executive stakeholders will draft the agenda and facilitate the discussion, while DEI leadership will participate and execute on action items. Number 5 we have is DEI surveys that should be sent to IBM associates and serve as a key performance indicator. The survey will provide associates with an anonymous platform to voice their feedback, concerns, and/or questions. Senior executive stakeholders and DEI leadership will review the data to ensure improvements are made and comments are addressed accordingly. This will be sent monthly with the newsletter. And then finally, here we have the external DEI communication. So this will be posted to IBM's website via monthly blog postings. They will communicate recent DEI activity that has taken place at IBM, such as the educational focuses and events that are ongoing, as well as provide information on diverse recruiting and hiring opportunities. DEI leadership and HR will craft the blog postings, and senior executive stakeholders will sign off on them and post them to the website. So there could be one implementation challenge associated with these solutions, as well as the communication strategy. DEI solutions and communication may be considered a risk of opening up a corporation to scrutiny, as well as providing a platform to do so. So because of this, some may shy away and not want to talk about it in their corporation for fears that they may say the wrong thing. However, I believe the benefits greatly outweigh the risks based on the data that we displayed previously. And most of the corporation will be appreciative that they are being represented and that their voices are being heard. All right, so that brings us to the end. I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you don't feel comfortable posing your question here, you can certainly reach out to me as well. My email is displayed here on the screen, as well as my phone number. Other than that, I want to thank you all so much for joining today. And as I stated before, please reach out if you do have any questions.